Thank you for coming to our second Facebook Live. These are our Future Flash Thursdays, and this is our chance to tell you about what you need to know before starting college. And today we're very excited about our topic. It's a topic everybody is interested in: scholarship money. How are we going to pay for college? So I hope that you came today with some paper and a pen to take some notes. I hope you brought some questions. We also have a few students that are going to be sharing, and we'll also be able to answer any general admissions questions you have today too. So we're looking for a lot of interaction from you. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that anything that you comment is going to be publicly visible, so don't post anything too private. This video is going to be available indefinitely on our Facebook page, so if you want to come back and reference anything, this will be available for you. I'm also going to be posting an outline in the comments in a minute, and that is the rundown of the program today, as well as a lot of helpful links that we're going to be talking about in a little bit. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Jasmine to visit today and talk about her scholarship experience. Many of us know that there are automatic scholarships available for freshmen and transfer students at Kent State Trumbull. And this is a really great opportunity, depending on your GPA that you transfer in or your high school GPA, you can qualify for automatic money. And Jasmine is one of the students that had that experience. She graduated from Bristol High School, and she is now a junior in our nursing program at Kent State University at Trumbull. And she's also a student employee. So we're looking forward to hearing from her today. Jasmine?
Thanks, Melissa. So like Melissa said, there's various types of scholarships on campus. I know Nicolette is going to talk about it more in depth in a little bit. But as Melissa said, I received one of the automatic freshman scholarships coming out of high school. So those are strictly based on GPA when you're admitted. And so I received the $4,000 a year Dean's Scholarship. That is renewable for all your time while you're on campus, as long as you keep a certain GPA. I also receive, we have a Trumbull campus scholarship application. So you plug in one application, you submit it, and then they have a panel on campus who goes through, and we have various different donors, and they find scholarship money through that, and then they pick which scholarships you might qualify for. So I receive several of those. And then there's also just the normal community scholarships I can get. Different banks I've received them from, different organizations that I was a part of maybe in high school, or just churches, other community aspects that hand those out. And then there's national ones too. And like I said, Nicolette will kind of explain a little bit more of that. But some advice that I always give people, because scholarships, we have a relatively low tuition to begin with on campus, and then to receive any type of scholarship to knock that price down even more is so helpful. It allows me to not have to worry about how I'm going to pay for my tuition. I can just worry about studying and gaining experience through my classes and through work for that, and not having the pressure of wondering, like I said, how I'm going to pay for it. So different tips I always like to kind of give out that have been passed down to me. I had a teacher tell me that if you treat it like a part-time job, it'll pay off like that. And it really does. Being able to keep it organized and work hard at applying for them, you'll end up a lot of times receiving multiple of them. And so I always tell students that I talk to on tours or at the high school is, if you keep an Excel sheet or a note sheet in your phone or notebook, write down year to year what the name of the scholarship is, when that application opens, when it might be due, where it closes, how much you receive. Just because year to year it doesn't always change necessarily a lot. It might change like a specific date, but it'll be the same type of year, or like the same month, time of year. And so watch for that, keep organized, and it'll end up paying off in the end. So definitely scholarships are a great option to watch for and to work towards. So thank you, Melissa.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. It's always great to hear from a real live student instead of just us admissions staff. But we also have an expert on today. Nicolette Fenlock handles our scholarships, financial aid, FAFSA questions, all those good numbers. So she is going to be telling us how to find additional scholarships in addition to the automatic freshman and transfer scholarships that we offer. So we are very excited to have Nicolette on. Please, if you're thinking of questions, please go ahead and put those in the comments. We will get to those. If you haven't had a chance, go ahead and click on the outline and look at what's going on today. Nicolette's going to be talking for about 15-20 minutes, but she's going to be interacting with us a little bit. So keep those comments open if you can, so you can participate. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Nicolette.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Jasmine, for sharing. Hello, everyone watching online right now, live, or watching at a later point. Thank you so much for joining us and taking some time to spend with us today. We're happy to see you online, and we hope eventually we'll see you in person as well. It's always nice to see a friendly face of someone who might be your person once you start school at Kent State Trumbull. As Melissa mentioned, my name's Nicolette. I work in student services and primarily in financial aid, billing, scholarships, veterans benefits, that side of the house. Unofficially, I'm the money lady, so save my contact info. I'd like to help you not only as you plan to start college and figure out how am I going to pay for this, but also once you're here. A lot of other topics related to finances that I like to cover, but today we are going to drill down into the scholarships. Just a quick recap, if you watched our first session, which was last Thursday, I did mention a little bit about how do I pay for this, right? Because that's the overarching question that we're addressing in all of our sessions and today primarily. So how much is it going to cost and how am I going to pay for it? So let me recap on what I covered last week. Number one, most students use financial aid. Please complete your FAFSA, free application for federal student aid. I'm required to start out every presentation with that because I work in financial aid, but most students do use financial aid. Number two, scholarships. Scholarships are free money that go towards your tuition that you do not have to pay back. So that minimizes the amount you have to pay with financial aid or out of pocket. Number three, some students use savings accounts or payment plans and they pay out of pocket. That is an option. Number four, some students use employee benefits or VA benefits or something like that. If that is you, let's talk more outside of the session. But the first two and the biggest are the scholarships and the financial aid. So today we're drilling down into scholarships because so often we kind of glaze over it. We only spend a minute or two on it and we say, oh, search for scholarships, or oh, this is what they are, you can use them. And a lot of times you're telling us, well, what do you mean? Like, where are they and how do I find them? So today I'm considering this a working session. So I do hope you have a pen and paper in front of you, and I am going to ask for some feedback from you. And I want you to think of this as starting your scholarship search, like right now, this minute. So you're going to be writing down some plans, and we're going to hash some things out over the next 15 minutes or so to get you started on that search so that you can feel like you actually know what to do and that you have a plan. So while I'm going to share my screen here, go ahead and get your pen and paper ready. Okay, are we good, Melissa? Give me a head nod, you can see my screen. Okay, thank you. All right, so this is one of my favorite graphics because it helps make sense of where scholarships come from. We have covered in depth the university side of the house. Kent State offers scholarships to our students internally all over the place, from colleges, from campuses, to our new freshmen, to our current students. We've already talked about that. And so I'm not covering that today. Today, I'm talking about the other two categories, the national and the local. And that's because this is where it gets a little fuzzy for students. How do I find them? Local and national scholarships as a whole are external scholarships to the university. So these are scholarships that you bring with you to Kent State. These are not given to you by Kent State. They are given to you by outside organizations, and you apply through outside organizations. And then that organization sends a check to the university to pay your tuition, and the application process is different for all of them. So we're going to start with the local, and here's where I want you to do some brainstorming. So I want you to think back to high school if you're a senior, or just the past couple years if you're not. What are some of the things you've been involved in? So we're thinking resume here. So I want you to start writing some of these things down and dropping them in the comments. What type of student organizations were you in high school? What type of sports did you play? What type of activities did you do? What groups did you join? What type of community organizations were you involved in? Where did you volunteer? This is brainstorming right now. Write it all down and comment if you would like to share some of those things that you've been involved in. I'm really interested to hear some of the things that you've been doing. So I'll let you work on that, and I will show you some of my ideas in this vein. Okay, so these are places that, I'm one of the people that opens the check that comes in the mail, and the agency that has given you a scholarship mails us the funds. So all of these examples are places that send scholarships checks to us at Trumbull for our students. So these are the types of places that I want you to get thinking of that you might be involved in or have a membership with. So Melissa, are we seeing any comments roll in yet? Anyone involved in anything like this? Okay, so this is just some ideas to get you thinking. So the civic organizations, and I want you to think both you and your family. Like, what are your parents involved in? Really get the wheels turning and get creative about this. So Melissa, are you seeing anything that you might want to share?
Yes, we actually have drama club, choir, a cappella choir, local nature center. Those are all great. Keep the comments coming.
Yeah, great ideas. So those are perfect examples of groups that might have a national affiliation. So if this same type of group is across the country, they might give a scholarship to students who were involved in that group in high school. I see those come in quite a bit. So keep that list going of everything that you've been involved in. And then you're going to work out from there. So you have an item on your list. Let's say it's drama club. You're going to use that to find scholarships. First, you're going to ask your network, and you're going to hear the term networking a million times in college because it's crucial to finding internships and jobs and making connections with faculty and staff. It's really important to your success. So start now and start asking the people that you are involved with in drama club. Do you know of any scholarships for students who are in drama club? Do you know of any national organizations that give scholarships to students who are in drama club? Start asking those questions. Write that down on your to-do list for each of the organizations that you have on your brainstorming list. So number one, ask your network and see what they say. Number two, start searching online and find some organizations online related to those clubs that you're in and see if they offer scholarships. So this is the research side of it. And we're still talking local. So you very well, if you've been involved in Kiwanis and the high school version of that, you very well may go ask your connections there and say, do you have some scholarships that I can apply for? Okay. So really keep in mind that networking piece, and then don't forget about the employers. As let's say you're in high school right now, or you've jobs, you would be surprised the companies that have scholarship programs for their employees. I always think of McDonald's, because I have students using that program and several other employer programs, but you have to go out and apply for them. And say, I didn't even know that existed. Do some digging on the website or with HR if you have a part-time job right now. Ask your employer for any leads, and then have your family and your parents ask their employers as well. Do you have any scholarships available or applications on your website? Volunteer opportunities, that's a big one. Ask around anywhere with local agencies that you might volunteer with. They could have opportunities, and then just some other ideas there. A lot of these you may find on your guidance counselor's website as well. They tend to list a lot of the local opportunities on their websites. So I've given you kind of some things to think about looking into researching. And usually at this point, students still say, okay, I get it. I got to do some legwork. I got to start finding some leads and start asking some questions. but where are the scholarships? I always get that. So my next example is the real life scholarships that actually exist out in the world today. So there we go. So these are some screenshots of real life scholarships for students who live in Trumbull County that are out there right now that students are applying for and being awarded for this coming year. And I love these examples because scholarships come from the most unique places. The first one across the top, so that's wholesale fireworks. I bet you don't have wholesale fireworks on your list of things you were brainstorming, right? Or local places you might want to look at to see a scholarship. I'm sure that's not on there. But who would have thought that they offer a scholarship? And it's because they're a local company. They're based out of Trumbull County. They want to give $800,000 per year to one Trumbull County student. And so they have an application out on their website. And right now your timeline's very tricky. Normally you're applying for scholarships from November to May, and we're rounding in on May right now. But I wanted to show you this wholesale fireworks application because they have a note right on the top of their website letting you know that although our deadline has passed, please continue to send your applications. Because of the COVID situation, we're still accepting applications. So as you're asking these agencies about their scholarships, if the deadline is passed, please still ask if you can still submit the application, because I would expect a lot of places have extended their deadlines due to everything that's going on. Okay, my next example down here is the WKBN example. And I'll be honest with you, I stumbled across this opportunity. I was on their website for some other reason, and I found a scholarship on there. So this just goes to show how digging around in local media outlets, local organizations, and looking on their websites, asking your connections can uncover scholarship opportunities that you never would have imagined. I wouldn't have automatically thought WKBN would have a scholarship for local students, but they do. The cool thing about this one is that to enter to be considered for the scholarship, you have to write a script for, I believe it's like a press release for a nonprofit. So a lot of times you're writing an essay about yourself, but in this case, you're demonstrating your writing skills through advocating for another organization. I thought that was really cool. Next example is the 717 example. Again, local company wants to give back to their community, wants to give back to the students in Trumbull County, and there's a couple other counties on their list. Several scholarships listed on their website. I believe the one for new freshmen or high school seniors, if you are awarded the scholarship, I believe it comes with a credit union account. Not a bad thing at all. This is a very reputable local company. So once again, not automatically thinking about places like banks, news agencies, or fireworks companies, but they do have money available. I recently found one out of Ashtabula County from an apple orchard. So you just never know, and you want to put your creative thinking cap on when you're digging around for these scholarships. Another great resource for your local scholarships is the Trumbull County ESC. I hope this is something, if you're from Trumbull County, that you've already checked out, along with the Mahoning Valley College Access Program, which I don't have screenshotted on here, but is another great resource. Both have several local scholarships listed on their websites, and I am going to share all these links to everything I'm referring to in either in the comments or as a follow-up. I also want to point out, I mentioned, and a lot of what I say is for high school seniors, but there's plenty of local agencies looking to give scholarships to non-traditional students, transfer students, older students. I would point you to my website that's also in our resource link. Several opportunities on there for a variety of things. All right, so let's drill down into the nitty-gritty of the actual application. This application is for the Naples that we just talked about from Wholesale Fireworks. And this is a very traditional scholarship application. So this is what you're going to see from most local places. It looks like this. You're going to see your deadline, all of your basic information. I would recommend, if you're printing it off, print 2 or 3 copies in case you have a typo. You can start over. Little bit of income information, and then they're asking for activities, awards, and honors. So pretty basic resume. I hope you have a resume right now. If you don't, we're going to want you to get one started when you start with us in the fall. But that's an easy place to just grab off that list of activities and plug it into the application. And when you have it ready, it makes it easier to fill out the application. Section 3, letters of recommendation. You're going to see an essay and a letter of rec in a lot of the local apps. And I just have to get on my soapbox for a minute or two when it comes to letter of recommendation. There is a technique to it, to getting a good letter of reference. So you want it to be from someone in the professional realm. So a supervisor at work, or a teacher, or someone who you volunteered with, or faculty staff member from campus if you're on campus already. Someone who knows something about you and can speak to your work ethic, your dedication, your goals. And I don't want you to panic if you don't have someone in your life like that right now. But I do want you to, when you get to campus in fall, ask for help finding those people to add to your network and those mentors. That's really important. So you always want to give the person you're asking for a reference. I think 2 weeks is the sweet spot. Ask them for the reference 2 weeks ahead of the time you want the letter from them, and give them all of the information. Tell them what scholarship you're applying for. Tell them when you need the letter of reference and tell them how to submit it, either to the agency or to you. Give them your resume and give them a description of the scholarship. If you do that, you are setting that person up to write you a phenomenal letter of reference. If you say, hey, I need a letter of reference tomorrow, you might not get that great of a letter, and this could be a deal breaker for you. So you want this letter to be great. So give the person you're asking enough time. In that same vein, a lot of these local applications for high school seniors include a guidance counselor section, and your guidance counselor will appreciate some lead time and may actually require some lead time in filling out their portion of the form. They may need 2 weeks to get it done because they have a stack of them. So, and these local applications, sometimes I'll hear from agencies that their problem was that they only had 2 applicants and they wish they would have had 20, because students are not taking the time to ask for the references and fill out the app and get it in by the deadline. So I encourage you to do it. The applicant pools are a lot smaller for the local opportunities. And then finally, when you're filling out these applications, don't trust your own judgment when it comes to proofreading. Please ask someone else to proofread it for you, family, friend, coworker. You can send it to me, I'll proofread it for you. I'm sure Melissa would be happy to do that too. But you have to proofread it. And then once you've submitted it, you always want to follow up with a little thank you note to the organization for giving you the opportunity. So that is the quick version of how to find the local opportunities in your community, in your backyard. Those are the ones with the smaller applicant pool. Those are the ones that want to give money to our local students. There is another way to find scholarships though, and it's by doing a national search in a database. So we're going to shift gears and talk about that national search and how that works. So I have a whole list of websites that are reputable that you can use to search for scholarships, and we'll share that in the comments, but I'm only going to use one of those as an example today, and that's scholarships.com. You may have heard of it before. You may be using it already. It's a legit website. It's actually been around for a really long time, and it is free. So if you're going to create an account in a website like scholarships.com, I would recommend maybe picking one of those accounts because they're all national databases. You're going to set up the account, and you're going to make sure that you're never paying anyone online to help you search for scholarships. This is free. There's some pop-ups involved because it's free. And you're never sharing your social security number or any too personal information that you don't want out there online. So this shows you the interface once you're logged into scholarships.com. And you want to think about how you build your profile when you're entering in the profile information on these databases, because they're going to send you scholarship matches based on what you put in the profile. So all those organizations and activities that you listed on your piece of paper at the beginning of the session, make sure they're in here, because they're going to match you according to those things that you put on there. So the more information you put in your profile, the better your matches are going to be. And then you can use the directory. So up at the top, there's a link here for directory. You can use that to actually search for scholarships across the country. Now, I would recommend when you're setting up these accounts to create a new email, maybe like a first name, last name, simple email at Gmail to send these to, because I don't want you to clutter up your Kent email too much. Those are important. And so maybe use like for LinkedIn and scholarships.com, like a separate email account so that you can check it when you're ready to do your search. Just a little tip. So when you click on the directory, you're going to get a list of different areas where you can search. And this is where you're going to brainstorm a little bit more. So I want you to write on your paper or drop in the comments, what is special about you? So what major are you choosing? Do you have maybe top 3 majors if you're undecided, or certain major? Drop that in the comments. I'm really curious to hear that. And what are some special interests or skills or hobbies that you have? And there's some suggestions up here, some unique things. Maybe you like to travel. Maybe you like, you absolutely love soccer. You know, maybe there's something special about your career path that makes you stand out. So drop those in the comments and jot those down, because we're going to use those to find unique scholarships for you. Okay. Now, I recognize that this all takes time, everything I'm asking you to do, research the local opportunities network, dig these databases. I understand that, and it does take time. I would expect that you'd be taking 5 to 10 hours over the next 2 weeks to work on this. But if it earns you a $1,000 scholarship, let's say you apply for 20, you get $1,000, it's worth that time. You just got paid that. You didn't have to pay that in tuition. So it is worth the time. So keep thinking of those unique things. And I want to point out, you can search by major. That is a good way to search. You can search by grade point average. There are scholarships in these national databases that do not look at your GPA. We talk a lot about, you know, full tuition for 4.0. Well, you can find some that do not even look at your GPA. So that's a good way. And then the special attributes, I would click there and look through those, because there's some cool, unique aspects in there. Melissa, are we seeing anything in the comments? You want to share any of those?
Sure, we have a few. Jonathan said, I like acting. I want to star in movies. Trisha is a nursing major. She ran a family business for 11 years, and she's a parent of 5 children.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Definitely use those items in your search and incorporate that in locally, nationally, and finding things that tie into those special interests. That's really cool. So here's some examples that I pulled out just to show you how you can find these unique things that may be special to you. And I put the fun ones first, and then we'll talk more professional next. So some of the fun ones, Mission Street Puzzle Scholarship. This is a real scholarship that you can apply for right now from scholarships.com. Deadline's May 18th, and it's $2,000. So this is for students pursuing higher education who are interested in puzzles, solving puzzles, writing puzzles, and helping the puzzler community grow. What? Who would have thought, right? How unique is that? How fun. So you create a puzzle and you send it in, and they decide whose is the best, and they award the money. Pet Disability Awareness Champion Micro Scholarship. This is for people who are advocates for pets with disabilities, and actually are involved in creating pet wheelchairs and are looking into going into the field of veterinary science. Mixed Martial Arts Scholarship. You write an essay about which form of MMA is the best. Something like that. How cool and unique, right? So if those are your special interests, or if you have interests along those lines, you might be able to find them on these national databases. So keep that list going, writing those unique things down. And then also think about the professional connections that you hope to have someday. So I think you mentioned nursing, acting. There are professional associations associated with those fields. So National Association of fill in the blank career. Check out those. And then also check out the companies that might employ you someday, right? So I pulled this example out because Johnson & Johnson is a household name, and they have a scholarship program for future nurses. Connection there, right? Johnson & Johnson Healthcare, they want to support nursing. So think of the big businesses and the big industry players who have a connection to your major or your interests or your special skills, and look at their websites and see if they have scholarships, because most big businesses have a nonprofit sector and they want to help the future scientists, nurses, veterinarians, police officers of the world. So check that out. Okay, so to wrap up this section, I just always have to have the money talk. So it's important that you ask and that you understand, what is the actual tuition cost, right? Because we talk about, well, books and supplies are extra and room and board is extra, and how much is it actually going to cost me? This just kind of helps you wrap your mind around that. And these are averages. Private universities, that's an average number, kind of national average ballpark. You can always find on the Bursar website or the billing website of any university the exact cost. So average in-state, you'll see that. And then you'll see the average cost around $10,000 for public universities. And then because Kent State Trumbull is part of a regional system, our tuition is a bit lower, and that's around, the $6,000 range. This is the per year cost. And everything in the financial aid world is per year. So the financial aid offer that you get in terms of loans and grants, that's for the year. The scholarship offers that you get, that's for the year. So this tuition amount is split in half. Half goes to fall semester, half goes into spring. If you are offered a $1,000 scholarship or a $4,000 scholarship, either from a local agency or from the university, it is split in half. Half goes to fall, half goes to spring. So you always want to be thinking in that year and then that semester split. So let's say you're joining us in the fall and you're paying, it'll be close to that tuition rate. Kent State has a tuition cohort guarantee, and that means when you start, your tuition is locked in at that rate. And the new rates for fall 20 will be determined on June 5th. So it may be a little bit higher than that. That's the 1920 rate, but you will know the 2021 rate very soon. So let's say you're paying this rate. Then let's say you're like Jasmine, who received a Dean Scholarship. You can automatically knock $4,000 off of that cost right there for Kent State Trumbull for the year. Then let's say you bring in 1 or 2 scholarships from outside. Okay, we're getting pretty close to that total tuition cost now. Then let's say you add in a Pell Grant if you're Pell eligible. Well, now you're kind of into the refund zone, right? Where you may be getting money back actually when you add all of that up. Or let's say you layer a few scholarships and you have a small portion left over of tuition to pay, and you decide, well, I'm going to take out a smaller amount of my student loan, minimizing my student loan debt, and still success all the way around. Or maybe you say, I'm going to take that small leftover amount and split it up into payments and not take out any student loans my first year, or revisit that option my second year. So when you're paying a lower tuition like this, you do have a lot of options, especially when you're bringing in scholarships and you're layering them. So if the university offers you a $2,000 scholarship, you stack the external scholarships on top of that. And then maybe you get a year in and apply for more scholarships through Kent State, and you just continue to stack them on top of each other. That's how students graduate debt-free. That's how it happens. So when they say, I don't have any student loan debt, that's what they were doing. They were stacking scholarships and possibly using Pell Grant in there as well. Okay, so I do have a few takeaways and a few action items for you to do, but I'm going to take a little break first, and I'm going to toss it back to Melissa, see if we have any questions, and let her say a few things. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicolette. We actually do have a couple questions. First is Lauren. She's asking, where can we find the non-traditional student scholarships at the link you mentioned, Nicolette? And if you need her to clarify, we have another question that you can answer while we get comments on that.
So we have, I would say 3 or 4, I believe, that are from local agencies, local to Trumbull County, and they're listed on our website. Easiest way to get there is to go to the Trumbull homepage, kent.edu/Trumbull, click on admissions, and you'll see a drop-down box. Scholarship opportunities will be a link there. You click on that link and you're going to see tabs that go across the top. A tab for our campus scholarships, and then you'll see external scholarships. That's where those links live, the external scholarships. And I just post them as the local agencies send them to me. I don't make the selections or do anything more than just share the information with students.
Great, thank you, Nicolette. The other question is actually something a couple people are asking. Where can we find post-undergraduate scholarships?
So you're going to use the same search techniques, and you're just going to want to read the fine print. So some scholarships are going to say bachelor's degree seeking or enrolled in college, or you have to show some sort of documentation of your status, and some aren't. Some scholarships are open to anyone. So you just want to look at the fine print as you're searching using these same techniques I gave you. And if it doesn't outwardly say this is only for first degree seeking students, then go ahead and apply. It's definitely worth a try. And then I would also look to, if you're pursuing a second degree or you're preparing for grad school, then you want to look for the profession. Like, why are you doing that? Is it to go into a certain profession or field or grad school? You want to look to those sources as well and ask if they have opportunities for you. So thank you, good question.
Thank you, Nicolette. Also, if anyone has questions about admissions or the application or general questions about our campus or how to do a campus tour, please also post those comments because we're happy to answer those questions as well. While you do that, we have another student who's on to speak to us today. Sabrina Barnhart is graduating next week from Kent State Trumbull. She's a double major in criminology and justice studies, as well as psychology. And she has some great scholarship advice for you. So here we go, Sabrina.
Hi, everyone. Like Melissa said, my name's Sabrina. I'm graduating soon. And I think the best part about graduating is that I'm graduating debt-free. And a big reason and way that I was able to do this was because I took the advice of Nicolette, and I took the advice of people before her, and I applied for the scholarships. I got the Pell Grant. I did the work. Like Jasmine said, it is like a part-time job, and if you treat it as that, it's gonna pay out. So kind of going more off of both of them and how they were talking about kind of keeping a running tab of everything that you're applying for, the years, what time it comes out, all of that. I've also found that it is beneficial to keep a running tab of your qualifications. So it's kind of like a resume, but it's a little bit more in essay format. So a lot of times that I've found, especially the smaller like high school scholarships, a lot of the ones I had, each one wanted their own essay. It talks about who you are, what's your career goals, what's your volunteer, and it's more than just listing it, it's actually making it into paragraphs. So it's nice to have that as part of your running document. Update different volunteer things you do, update your classes and any relevant coursework to your career. And if each one of these topics you want to make a different paragraph. So you want your basic topic paragraph of like who you are, where you graduated, what was your high school GPA, just kind of the who you are. You want a paragraph of different things you did in high school. Were you part of drama club? Were you part of NHS? Just different things that were directly related to your school that are beneficial. Then you're going to want a volunteer paragraph, different things you've done to volunteer or any outside programs you're a part of. And then once you start getting into college, once you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, and you're applying for ones, not as a new freshman, but as a returning college student, You're going to want to update your classes. You're going to want to update any volunteer work you do in college, any extracurricular activities you do in college. And that kind of cuts down on the time, like Nicolette said, you're going to spend time. It truthfully is time that you have to spend. But if there's different tricks that you can do to kind of minimize time and you can spend time searching for those good scholarships, they're going to pay off and you're going to get them. Another tip is I found that even if you don't exactly meet all the qualifications that they're asking for, it's better to apply than not to apply. If you hit one of the marks, sometimes it's better to apply because, like Nicolette said, a lot of times they don't have a lot of recipients. So maybe if they only have 2 or 3 recipients and they're planning on giving 4 scholarships, even if you met one of the qualifications, they're going to give it to you more leniency than if they had nobody. So it's better to kind of overexert yourself and kind of put your application out everywhere than to only kind of keep it all in one basket and only apply for the things you hit all the marks for. Kind of just, it's better to apply than not to apply is what I've learned, because I've gotten some scholarships that were for nursing majors with a high GPA, and I'm not a nursing major, but I had a high GPA, so they gave it to me. And then make sure you contact your college and see if they have any like school specific ones like Kent Trumbull and their scholarship that kind of puts you in the pool for all of them. Those are the best scholarships to do. So that's my advice. Hope it works for you.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. And I think it's worth emphasizing Sabrina's graduating next week debt-free. And that is remarkable in this day and age with college tuitions being notoriously expensive. You saw that comparison, the price comparison. Kent State Trumbull has extremely low tuition, plus these generous scholarships that are campus funded, plus these external ones that Nicolette talked about today. So I graduated last spring from Kent Trumbull, and I'm debt free also. So it's not just a one-time thing for just one special person. This is possible for a lot of us. So there are some questions coming in. Keep them coming in. We want to answer whatever questions you have. The one came from Missy. This is for you, Dr. Ritter. When do we start registering for fall classes? And when do we do a placement test? First, I'm going to introduce Dr. Ritter. He is our Director of Enrollment Management and Student Services. So if anyone can answer this question, it's him.
Hi there. Thank you, Melissa. We will start registration for the fall for brand new students in about a week and a half to 2 weeks. And the placement assessment is going to be a little bit different this year. You're going to do the ALEKS math placement on your own at home, which is usually the case. But we're not going to give you an English and a reading placement assessment. We're going to use your high school transcripts and or ACT scores if you have them, or SAT scores to determine that. And it's all going to be remote. So when you, after you take your ALEKS math placement, someone will be in touch with you and will advise you over, just like we're doing now, and get you registered.
Thank you, Dr. Ritter. If anyone else has any questions, please go ahead and put them in. We have about a 20-second delay from what we're recording and what you're seeing. So hopefully we get your comments in time. Don't leave us yet. We have some valuable information coming from Nicolette on where to go from here after this information. An information session is only as helpful as the work you put into it afterwards. So we're looking forward to that application and activation. Any other questions? I don't see any. We'll give you another minute or two. All right, I think you can go ahead and wrap it up, Nicolette.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Sabrina. That was some phenomenal advice, especially just as an overview and on the essay. That really got me thinking, coming from a different perspective as someone who reads the essays. I just wanted to say, don't be afraid to get personal. Most students are going to say something like, my goals are to graduate, my goals are to have a high GPA, and my goals are to get a job. We all kind of share those goals as college students. So as you're writing your essay, think about those things we talked about in the beginning What is special about you? What are some unique experiences that you've had or some groups that you've been involved in? And do not be afraid to get personal about your life and your experiences in your essay, because I've seen time and time again that does make you stand out. Melissa's letting me know that we have a question for Jim, so I'm gonna switch back over to her and then I'm gonna wrap it up.
Thank you, Nicolette. That's that delay we have going on, but there are a couple really good questions here, so worth answering. Isabel is wondering, what is the best way to find housing at Trumbull?
Great question. So we don't have dorms at Trumbull. We do have a lot of proximity, very close proximity to a lot of apartments in the area. And so my suggestion would be to just do a Google search for apartments in Champion, Warren, Cortland. Those are the surrounding areas. And today it's a lot easier to see reviews online as to whether the apartments are good or not. So I would just do a Google search and use the surrounding areas. We are very fortunate and then we're right off the bypass. So even if you go as far as Niles, that's about 10 minutes away. I live in Mahoning County. It takes me 30 minutes to get there at the most. So just do a little Google search and you should be able to come up with some apartments for residency.
Great information. We have a question from Trisha. How can I access my old ACT score, and is that relevant at all right now?
It's really, really not relevant at all. We don't use ACT other than if you have it, we'll use it for placement. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. You don't need to get it to us. We're what's called an open enrollment institution. So high school diploma, GED, you're accepted. So we don't use ACT for anything, even to get into a selective program like nursing, we don't use ACT.
All right, thank you. It looks like that's all the questions for now. So Nicolette, now if you want to wrap us up, that'd be great.
All right, thank you so much. I just have a few more things I'd like to show you on my screen, so let me get that going. Okay, so I think all of us have talked about how to get organized and how to keep track of this scholarship search. And right now, when we end this, now it's time to get to work. Start doing that research, start digging into those local and national search strategies. So how do you keep track of your life? And you can drop this in the comments if you'd like. I'm curious to know, do you use a planner? Do you prefer to-do lists? Do you use a calendar? Or I have some students who even use like a sticky note system or a whiteboard. And I ask that because being organized and keeping track of everything is at the very top of the college success strategies. We talk about it quite a bit, especially in your first year. How are you going to stay organized and stay on top of everything? So as with life and as with college, so goes the scholarship search. If you are organized about it and take an organized approach, you're going to be more successful and you're going to just kind of keep track of everything that you're doing. So this is just one way of many ways that you can keep track. I always prefer spreadsheets and to-do lists, but what I would like you to do is try and find 10 to 20 scholarships in the next week. List them out on a list. Make sure you include like the link back to where you found it. Make sure you include the deadline. I even order your list for most recent deadline to latest. List the dollar amount, and then have a section for what are some of the things you need to do. This is where you start to give yourself some deadlines. This is where that time management piece is very important. So I would even expand a list like I'm showing you a little further. And for each task in your to-do list, I would give yourself a deadline. So for example, if you need to ask a teacher for a letter of reference, you want to give yourself a date to make that ask. So maybe to send that email, maybe you do that tomorrow. And then the deadline to get that letter of reference is 2 weeks from now. So you want to write all that down and make note that you sent that ask. Maybe your to-do is to start my first draft for my essay, and my deadline for that is a week from now, because I need a week to ask someone else to proofread it, and then I need a few more days to polish it up before I send it in to the application deadline. So think through your timeline and give yourself deadlines. Whether we're talking about a scholarship search or a project for school or a job search, we always want you to break it down into small, manageable deadlines and tasks. That's called SMART goals. We have a whole lesson on that. But that's going to help you feel like you are making progress. Because the most frustrating thing is not knowing where to start or how to start and not knowing what to do next. So this is what you're going to do next. You're going to find a way that works for you to keep track of it all. Doesn't have to be a grid like I'm using, but find a way that works. Start keeping track of it and making those lists, and then give yourself those action items on your to-do list and give yourself deadlines, okay? This is something that I sit down one-on-one with our current students and I help them work this out, whether it's for a project or a scholarship search, but thinking through, don't be afraid to ask for help in thinking through your timeline and your to-do list, whether it's from your parents or your teachers or a faculty and staff member. We're here to help you figure this out, and this is really the best way to get started. All right, so to wrap things up, these are some of my takeaways. As with any financial aid talk, I always advise students to have the money talk with their family. If there are other people involved other than you in paying your tuition, start asking those questions. How are we going to pay for this? What is the plan? When is it due? How much is it going to be? That conversation is easier for some of us than others, but it's better to start now in having those discussions. Absolutely, like I will say 100 times, please complete that 2021 FAFSA. Take the time to search for scholarships. Think of it as, that reward, however much money it could be at the end, it is worth your time. This time of year, I would expect you to be spending a bulk of those hours in the coming weeks and months. And then going into fall, I would advise you to start searching for scholarships as early as October or November. That's when you do your FAFSA for the next year. So that's when you want to start looking for scholarships. It's a yearly process. It's not just a one and done. You're going to do this for every year to find those new scholarships or reapply for ones that you've already earned. Remember that you're looking at actual tuition rates when you're trying to figure out costs. And please ask questions. I always say find your person. That person can be me. That person can be Melissa. It can be Dr. Ritter. It can be someone who you go to ask those questions. And it can be any question related to admissions, financial aid. We will help you or we will connect you to the right person. But the most important thing is that you're asking the question and reaching out to us if you need help. I could do a whole nother session on the smart borrowing piece, but if you are using student loans to pay your tuition, keep track of that total amount and I can help you figure out how to do that. And then once you're a college student, be smart about managing your money and attend our sessions that we host, teaching our students how to budget when you don't have a lot of money to go on when you're a college student. So that's the quick summary. I'd be happy to speak with any of you one-on-one once you get started on these tasks on your search. And I wish you the best of luck in finding these scholarships. I hope this was helpful. And I really hope to see you either online or in person in the coming months. Thank you so much. Back to you, Melissa.
Thank you, Nicolette. We did have one more question come in for you. If this is simple to answer on here, maybe it'll be helpful for a lot of people. I am on the Kent State Campus Scholarships lists, and I don't see how you apply for the foundation scholarships.
Okay, so that is a great question because it allows me to point out that Kent State as a system, so as a university, has a master database of scholarships. So these are scholarships offered by every college and campus across the entire university. There is a link to that database on our Trumbull website. It's to the far right and it just says scholarships. If you are part of that, you will be notified of different scholarships. You can search in different ways. That is separate from the Trumbull campus scholarship application for our current students. That is the donor-based scholarships. And there's one link for that. And it's right on the homepage. It's highlighted in yellow. Again, that's for our current students, and the deadline for that's May 1. So we can be sure to make sure that link's in the comments, or drop me an email at Trumbull FinAid, and I'd be happy to send you the direct link to that and explain further. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Nicolette. Great questions. It's great to see you guys are already looking on the website, looking for those scholarships. Maybe you even have your spreadsheet started. Awesome, awesome. I just want to point out, if you didn't hear me say it in the beginning, our very first comment is a document of the outline from the program today, but it's also full of a bunch of the links that Nicolette mentioned, plus them. And at the very bottom is contact information on how to reach Nicolette and how to reach me. So the Trumbull FinAid at kent.edu. Nicolette sees those emails. She'll be able to answer your individual questions. We know scholarships and tuition are very personal things. So I'm sure everybody has their own story. Please reach out if you have questions. That's one of the beauties of the regional feel at Kent State Trumbull. We have that personable feel. We're happy to work one-on-one with you on whatever you need. I know some of you students are already admitted for summer, so congratulations. We're super happy to have you be joining our Flash family. If we have any guest students or high schoolers that are coming in fall, we're so glad that you joined us today too. Please continue to stay in touch and reach out with any questions. Also, feel free to put in the comments topics you'd like to see on future Flash Thursdays.